Welcome to the Dan Sports Tips Daily Fantasy Barclays Premier League show for the weekend coming up of the 24th of September. I'm taking a look at everything you need for your daily fantasy games on DraftKings for the Premier League this week. We're looking to construct a roster of a goalkeeper, 2 defenders, 2 midfielders, 2 forwards and a utility player using our $50,000 budget. Points are scored like this. For anyone that hasn't had the opportunity to sign up and play daily fantasy sports with DraftKings yet, I will pop a link in the description beneath this video that will enable you to do that today. Looking at the goalkeepers this week, Hugo Lloris of Tottenham for 5,400. Spurs look about as sure a thing there is to keep a clean sheet in the Premier League this weekend. With the bonus points for a clean sheet and a win, Lloris is definitely in play. It's debatable how many points he will record for saves against Middlesbrough side that the goals have dried up for recently. The play is based solely on the bonus points. Anything he scores on top of that is all gravy. He's the preferred option for me of the top price goalkeepers this weekend. And Ben Foster of West Brom for 4,700. I prefer Foster over Sunderland stopper Pickford. He racks up points for saves. But for the reason that I believe Albion have got better chances of recording a win, and assuming the attacking players of Stoke, such as Shaqiri, are still struggling for fitness and will miss this game injured, then there are obvious clean sheet chances as well against the Premier League's bottom side. I'm sure that Stoke will create some chances. Foster is a solid shot stopper and will be my main play in goal this weekend. Looking defensively, James Milner has appeared as a defender. He's not a defender, despite the fact that Liverpool have been deploying him at full-back. He's a winger, so you almost have to include him if you can afford to spend 6,600 on a fullback. You get set pieces, he does get involved there, but he is in essence a winger playing at fullback. He has exceptional clean sheet possibilities against a Hull side that are not prolific goal scorers. If you can afford to pay the salary for a defender, you really have no reason not to with Milner today. Kyle Walker of Spurs for 6,000. Walker is the prototypical attacking fullback in the perfect system for fantasy football. Spurs encourage their fullbacks to join the attacks on the wings while sporting last season's best defensive record in the Premier League. Away to Middlesbrough looks a game that's winnable. Walker should have his share of opportunities going forward, and the goals have started to dry up for the new additions to the Premier League, so a clean sheet is far from out of the question for Spurs and Walker as well. Seamus Coleman of Everton is 4,800. Much like Walker, Coleman and Baines at Everton are encouraged to get forward, and Coleman recently returned from injury, did bag a goal in the last game while scoring 19 points. The only word of caution for using the Everton fullbacks would be that they do tend to push forward a little bit less when they're away from home, as they will be this weekend against Bournemouth. So bear that in mind before you pay nearly 5,000 for him. Curtis Davis of Hull for 3,800 has been the linchpin at the heart of the Hull City defence. He compiles plenty of defensive points and would certainly be afforded that opportunity again away to Liverpool in a game where field position and possession will be dominated by the home side almost without question. Davis has compiled double-digit points tallies in both the away games that Hull have played this year, and there's no reason with opportunities at the back to see that change. And obviously he will go forward for corners should Hull get many as well. And finally in defence, Bruno Martins Indi of Stoke for 3,200. He's been the best player on the worst defence in the Premier League for what that's worth in the 2 games he's played since coming in on loan from Porto. He is experienced. I'm sure that Stoke are going to have a go in this game against West Brom. He has notched some crosses points in previous games. He's a capable tackler. He offers you cheap possibilities in defence to get some easy points. You know, somewhere in the 6 to 9 range is perfectly viable, and it now enables you to pay up elsewhere for quality in midfield up front, where you're likely to get more points for goals and assists. Looking at forward players, I lump the midfielders and the forwards in together because obviously some players do qualify in both positions. Forward Sergio Aguero of Man City for 10,500 will return from suspension for a surging Manchester City team who continue to score goals for fun. He is their main goal threat. Not that you would know that by what they've achieved in his absence. They shouldn't be troubled by a trip to Swansea, who have yet to win at home this year. City should dominate the game, will create plenty of opportunities, and you would imagine that they're certainly going to score a few goals, which, and Aguero being the likely goal scorer, justifies his price as the most expensive player this week, along with his teammate Kevin De Bruyne, who qualifies in midfield and as a forward for 10,100. De Bruyne has been on absolute fire in the absence of Aguero, weighing with goals as well as dictating the majority of City's forward play. He's compiled a massive 58 points in his last 2 Premier League games, and in the absence of David Silva, will provide the creative spark as well as being involved at set piece plays as well. Andros Townsend in midfield for Crystal Palace is 8,800. 6,800. He's no longer the bargain price of the early season games. Townsend has seen his price increased by 2,000 since the opening week of the season, but it has been justified as Townsend's play on the flank has seen a minimum of 12 points scored in each of the 5 games that Crystal Palace have played this year, as he provides plenty of ball into the box. The addition of Benteke up top does give him an actual target to aim at in that area as well. For those who are concerned about the price tag with Townsend and think it's gotten too big, there is a fair alternative in Jason Puncheon in midfield for Crystal Palace for 6,400. Puncheon takes set pieces for Palace. He's more viable and consistent alternative because of this to Puncheon than Wilfried Zaha, the other winger. Puncheon has supplied at least 8 crosses in each of the last 3 games in the league, mainly from those set pieces. He has a couple of assists to his name as well, and carries upside in a game at Sunderland, who have been struggling in the league and sit in the bottom 3 entering this game. Palace will look to take this game to their opponents and dominate the proceedings, which should give them plenty of opportunity to score some offensive points. Philippe Coutinho for Liverpool in midfield for 7,700. Whatever you think about the backline of Liverpool Football Club this year, it's difficult to argue with their forward play. They boast victories against Chelsea and Arsenal as well. They should not be troubled by a game at Anfield against Hull City, and Coutinho is involved in their set-piece play, particularly direct free kicks. If Firmino is fit for the game, they're likely to play without a recognised striker, with Sturridge dropping to the bench, looking for a rotating 3 up top with a false 9 of Coutinho and Firmino to provide the tip of the spear and take the chances, along with Sadio Mane, who qualifies in midfield and as a forward for 7,500. Mane proved time and again with Southampton that he knew where the net was. He's continued that, I should say, with Liverpool, scoring twice in 4 games for them to start this season. He will likely rotate with Coutinho and Firmino, as I said, switching between a wider role and playing up front, assuming that Sturridge does drop out of the team. All 3 offer upside for crosses, goals and assists in a game that Liverpool are likely to dominate, as Hull's early season form that was a surprise has started to dip. I'm surprised that the Liverpool 3 are priced as cheaply as they are for this game, and I think probably Firmino's in play as well, in all honesty. Romelu Lukaku of Everton for 8,800 as a forward. Quite simply, the money goal threat for Everton, who merits consideration whenever fit. That is the question mark hanging over Lukaku for this game away at Bournemouth. Is he going to be fit? He has had a bit of a knock. The Cherries play open football, will not back down. They will try and take this game to Everton, who sit in the lofty position of second at this early stage of the season. Lukaku has fired them at this point with 4 goals in 2 games and should have the opportunity to score against the less than stellar Bournemouth backline that's kept only 1 clean sheet this season against West Brom. If you don't want to take Lukaku, then a touch more value can be found in this Everton side with Kevin Morales, who qualifies as a midfield and a forward for 6,800. He takes the set pieces, particularly the corners for Everton, and therefore chalks up plenty of crosses points, as well as popping up with the odd assist, and he can score when he finds the ball at his feet in front of goal. I expect Everton to have their share of this game, which will probably be quite entertaining to watch. It should be open and fluid. They should score, so there is upside at this price for Morales, who continues to be undervalued, having seized his opportunity after Koeman came to the club, as he didn't get much of a chance under Martinez. Salomon Rondon of West Brom, the forward, for 6,700. The pacey Albion striker did find the net last week against a terrible West Ham defence, and he gets the Stoke City side that sits bottom of the table with a goal difference of -11 through 5 games of this young season, so he looks in play again this week. I'm not expecting Albion to score 4, as last week against West Ham was the only time they found the net more than once since March of this year, but Stoke will afford them opportunities, and Rondon with his pace offers a very live goal threat. And finally, HeungMin of Tottenham for 5,900 can be deployed as a midfield or a forward. Off an incredible performance last week, he's actually matched De Bruyne with 58 points in his last 2 Premier League games, yet he's close to half the price of De Bruyne this week. With Harry Kane injured, Tottenham will be looking for creativity and goals from other players. Son has played that well that it's unthinkable to drop him at this stage. He looks outstanding value, despite the game being away from home against newly promoted Middlesbrough this week. That's what I've got for you on Daily Fantasy for DraftKings today. Let me know in the comments what you think is going to happen in the Premier League this week, who you'll be including in your DraftKings lineup. Don't forget to smash the like button for this video. Please do subscribe to the channel. I'll be here every week throughout the football season. Follow me on Twitter at dansports.tips, and I will see you all next week. See you later.